For want of a clue, the Senate was lost. Or so believe many Republicans who look at Senate races in Missouri, Indiana, and elsewhere last year, and some unfortunate talk of legitimate rape and the like, and think, why did we nominate these people? House Speaker John Boehner trying to get ahead of the problem before the 2014 midterms. He wants to make sure the Republican men in the House get a little sensitivity training to learn how to go toe-to-toe with female opponents, and also to learn how to appeal to female voters.
Well, I try to get them to be a little more sensitive. You know, you look around the Congress, there are a lot more females in the Democrat caucus than there are in the Republican caucus. And, you know, some of our members just aren't as sensitive as they ought to be.
And in the film version, the role of John Boehner will be played by Alan Alda. CNN Chief Congressional Correspondent Dana Bash joins me now. Boehner being unusually candid there. Dana?
He is. I'm sorry, I'm just stuck on Alan Alda. I think we're showing our age. We're showing our age, Jake, because I get what that meant. He is being candid, and you know that really what was his goal coming out in that press conference. It is not a secret that Republicans, since the end of the last election, have been licking their wounds and trying to figure out the best way to do two things. One is close the gender gap among voters, and also try to recruit more female candidates here in Congress to be members of Congress. This is something that came up this morning when I interviewed the House Majority Leader, Boehner's number 2, Eric Cantor. Here's his take. Do you not know how to talk to women, sir?
Well, we have any number of Republican women in our conference who are real leaders on all kinds of issues.
But is there a problem with men in the Republican Party, your rank and file, who don't know how to communicate to reach female voters?
You know, it is our policies that are going to appeal to both female and male voters.
But they haven't
when we're talking about health care right now, our health care starts with people and patients.
So Mr. Boehner, a little bit more candid than his number 2 there. Dana, a lot of this obviously is about trying to prevent the kind of gaffes we heard, for example, from former Congressman and Senate candidate Todd Akin in the 2012 Missouri Senate race, when he made a reference to legitimate rape and shutting that whole thing down, et cetera, as if there were types of rape claims that weren't legitimate, as if that was biologically accurate. That became like a national issue, Republicans would argue, aided by a liberal media, but one way or the other, they're trying to avoid this happening again.
That's exactly what's going on. So what's happening behind the scenes, Jake, is all candidates, and this happens constantly, you know this, in both parties, they go through media training. So, but what House Republican strategists are doing in their media training is putting an emphasis on learning how to answer questions that they're going to get about abortion, about rape, and not make the gaffes that you just played before. In addition to that, what we're told that they're encouraging Republican candidates to do, both genders, is to have more events in and around women's issues, to have a women's coalition, and not just have like one event per election season, as some of these members do, but to do it constantly and really bring these issues to the fore. Another interesting thing, and I actually heard this with Eric Cantor this morning, is that they're being encouraged not just to talk as politicians, but to talk as fathers and as husbands, and to humanize themselves when they're talking to voters.
You also spoke to Speaker Boehner about gay candidates running. Republican Congressman Randy Forbes has said that the Republican election house, the NRCC apparatus, should not be helping gay Republican candidates. We've reached out to Forbes for comment. What have you heard about this issue today?
Well, he does not, Congressman Forbes does not have the support of the leadership on this. I asked Speaker Boehner if he supports the party giving money to, at least there are 2 openly gay Republican candidates, one in California, one in Massachusetts, and he had a 2-word answer: I do. He's trying to put that to rest and move on, and our understanding is that is exactly what's happening. In the case of the candidate from Massachusetts, Richard Tussey, he came very close, Jake, beating the Democrat last time around. He had a lot of support, a lot of money from the Republican Party nationally, and he is going to as well this year.
That's right. I should have been more precise. Openly gay Republican candidates. Thank you so much. Dana Bash on Capitol.